trumpet. Said boo. Those guys. Anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to load up the cannon first. We'll fire off the shot. See if you like it. If you like it, we'll do some more. We're representing an 18th century artillery unit. Unlike the Civil War, we are firing a smooth bore artillery piece. Not firing any shells or anything like that, it's just black powder. But the type of metal that came out of the cannon was typically a round ball. If you went by our artillery demonstration, our artillery table, we also fire canisters, grape shots, chain shots, and bar shots.
Ready? Yep. Fire.
Is that loud enough? All right, that's good. Cannon
It's run
shots all afternoon. And just a word of caution, if you have young ears, old ears, cover your ears before they fire. Keep your mouths closed. Sound does travel through your mouth. Go ahead. All right, we're going to go through the steps and how to fire an 18th century cannon. Twisted wire with points on the end. And he's going to use that to see and search to see if there's any residue, like a powder bag from the previous firing, and try to pull that out. The next gentleman is going to sponge the gun, and it's like a giant Q-tip. He's going to stick it in there. It's wet. It's made out of lamb's wool, and it's going to serve two purposes. One, if he pulls it out quick enough, he actually pulls the air out of it, so to extinguish anything. And again, it's wetted, so if there's any burning embers, he will put those embers out. Now they're ready to load. And the commander calls what type of shot he wants fired out of the gun. He's calling for a round shot. So I guess he wants to put a hole through the visitor center? No, he can do that. He's going to load it. And then the next thing they're going to do is ram down the charge. Make sure it's seated in the back. And then they're going to take that little prick, that piece of wire, poke a hole in the powder bag, and then he's going to add a quill, which we're going to use to light the cannon. That's going to burn down, hit the powder bag, and that's going to explode the bag to push out the ball. Boom. Okay. Oh, that was just practice. Okay. All right, we're going to do it for real again. As you might have guessed, this unit was founded by a young man by the name of Alexander Hamilton. He was attending King's College, which is now Columbia College in New York. Got kind of swept up in this revolutionary independence, patriotic fever that was going on, and decided to assemble a artillery unit. All right. I'm going to need some help on this next one. Are you willing?
Of the congressional forces, and I'm going to call them congressional. They're the forces of the Continental Congress, or the acting U.S. government of the time period. And we'll talk about the reason for that later, but there are Americans on both sides of this war. And they're marching from one place to another. I see they've got some women with them in the middle of the column. These will be wives of the men. A certain number of them were allowed to go with on campaign in order to serve as nurses in the field hospitals and to do laundry and things like that. And so you would see them in camp, and they would be with the Army when it was on the march. Generally speaking, they marched. They would have marched with the baggage. This is very small contingent, so they don't have any actually wagons with them. But obviously, this contingent is on its way, moving from one place to another. Now, I said that there are Americans on both sides, and we see some of those coming out on the field to our east. That's the British side over there, but what are we doing with green coats out here? Aren't the British the red coats? Well, no, not all of them. The North American colonists who wanted to fight who did not think we should be fighting for independence, some of them volunteered their services to form regiments to fight against the redcoats. And in recognition, the British government gave them coats that were green rather than red. But these are Americans. So right now, who we have out on the field is basically Americans versus Americans. Americans who thought we should go for independence and Americans who thought we shouldn't. And so that's why I'm going to not call one side American. I'm going to call the, quote, Americans the congressional forces, because they're the forces of our Congress. Now you'll see that both sides are maneuvering in a straight line, as we discussed, because that's generally the most effective way to move across the field, and it's also the most effective way to get volley fire down the field against the enemy. You'll see Wayne's light infantry over there with the white flag. They're using a light infantry advance technique where one group fired, the other squad walked out in between them. They're already loaded, so they're ready to fire. Now they're firing. That first squad is in the process of reloading, and then they can come up and walk through the spaces between the others. So that's a way of getting down the field faster than if everybody moves at one time and then stops and all reload at the same time. It's a way of keeping half your men loaded at any given time. Once the guys get close enough to you, watch carefully and you'll see they're all using a pre-formed, pre-measured round of black powder in a paper cartridge. The British Army Great Britain is the largest empire in the world in the 18th century. The redcoats that you see out there are the professional soldiers of that army. Everybody in their army is a career soldier. All the manufacturing was in Europe, so the redcoats are far better supplied and equipped than most of the congressional forces, and everybody pretty much thought that the war would, because of the professionalism of the British Army and the better manufacturing supply, that the war would be over in maybe 4 months. I think it's an incredible testament to the determination of the forces of the Congress that they were actually able to win a war against a big empire like that. So you think that perhaps only a third of the inhabitants of the colonies were ever in active rebellion at any given time. A third were neutral, and a third were loyal to King George III and to Great Britain. Redcoat's starting to come up into line now. The effective range of a musket, the most effective range of a musket is about 50 to 100 yards. It can't shoot farther than that, but you start losing your accuracy and velocity somewhat after 100. The range of the artillery piece is more like about 300 yards. So they're well within range of the enemy. We just need to see if they can get the proper range and elevation. You'll notice on both sides they're firing by battalion, so one group will fire, then the next group will fire. Again, you don't want everybody on your side to have an unloaded weapon at the same time, although the British are known for their prowess with using the musket, or I'm sorry, their prowess using the bayonet to finish up battle. Aside from the women that were on the march with the congressional forces, you'll see a few women remaining out on the field and a few women with the British forces. Generally speaking, we don't think that you would have seen many women on the battlefield. They would have been back in camp or guarded with the baggage if the army was on the march. But we do have some instances where we know that they brought, say, water out to their husbands on the battlefield in a very long battle situation. New York Regiment, using the British-owned tactics against them. Looks like the rest of the line now also fixed bayonets. There aren't enough British left to get enough firepower going down the field, although they are trying. But the forces of the Congress looks like they are going to definitely carry the day. Rather than ask for surrender terms, the remainder of the Crown forces have decided to leave the field and save themselves to come back and fight another day. Any wounded that are on the battlefield will be taken care of by the surgeons of the victorious army, and then they will be made, the enemy wounded will be made prisoners of war and used later for a prisoner exchange, hopefully. That looks like a decisive victory for the forces of the Continental Congress this afternoon. And they're giving 3 cheers in recognition of that. So that concludes our tactical demonstration. We thank you very much for coming out to see us this afternoon. We will be just in a few minutes reforming, and we will be lining up for our closing formation. So we're going to line up the troops and do a march by and a parade. We know that we have crowd on both sides of the field, and we can't ways, but it seems like the greater number of people are here on the south side of the field, so I apologize to you on the north side. Then the French ally, or then the, state units, then the French allies. And on the Crown side, we have the regular red-coated British first, the professional army of Great Britain, and then we've got some German troops in there and blue German auxiliary troops, and now we've got loyalists, those Americans who thought we should not be fighting for independence, at the end in green. You'll hear the music playing. What they're doing is repeating the commands given by the overall commander, who is probably hoarse after a whole weekend of yelling commands out here. And so the drums and fifes were the signal corps who relayed those commands to the troops, either in camp or in battle or in formation, any of those situations. In case of an emergency, there's actually a duty drummer who was outside the commander's tent at all times in order to relay any orders that he would give should he need to call his adjutants or something like that. You'll see now an orderly sergeant going out. The farther away you are from the line of troops, the higher your rank. So we have some lesser officers out there, and now we have orderly sergeants who are going down the line and doing a roll call inspection. these being muzzle loading weapons, the only way you can tell if the weapon is unloaded is to drop the ramrod down it and make sure that it goes all the way down to the bottom of the barrel. So they'll be doing that. And they also will probably be checking the firing mechanism, which we call the lock, and making sure that the weapon does not do what we call going off half-cocked or firing from the safety position. Once the roll call inspection is over, then the orderly sergeants will be reporting into their battalion commander, there being a battalion commander for each side here. Crown Forces orderly sergeants going forward now. And that's essentially the end of the troop once the orderly sergeants go back. We are going to extend the troop this afternoon by doing a trooping of the colors and a parade. The trooping of the colors is based on a British tradition that goes back to, we think, the 1730s for King George. I think it was King George I at that point. And it is still something that they do every year in June for the sovereign's official birthday. We're doing a very simplified version of it, but the basic premise of it is to parade the colors and flags of the regiment, which are the most important items owned by that regiment in the British tradition, and then to do a parade for any visiting dignitaries. In that case, it would be the king or queen. In our case, we consider you our visiting dignitaries for coming out to see us, but we also have some organizational dignitaries that we'll be calling out shortly. Although this is a British tradition, we don't have any British colors trooping today. We have 3 congressional colors. The red color is the color of Alexander Hamilton's New York State Artillery. The color in the middle is the Pennsylvania flag from Wayne's Light Infantry with a coiled rattlesnake. Often you'll see it with the slogan, "Don't tread on me," under the rattlesnake, meaning, I'm going to bite you if you keep interfering with my liberties. And then the pink Liberty flag of the 3rd New York Regiment, another Continental Army regiment. You would think pink maybe is a unmilitary color, however, that was the color of silk they could get. So we know they in fact did have a pink color during the Revolution. You'll notice that the colors had an armed escort with them to start with, the escort marching back behind. The colors returning the salute of the commander. We would not do that with the U.S. flag today, however, that is the proper 18th century color salute, and is still the color salute that is used in Great Britain today. We've got some organizational awards to give here, and Ray Steele's been called forward. First, the British anthem, God Save the King. There was no national anthem during the Revolutionary War. In fact, the Star Spangled Banner did not become our national anthem until the 1930s. And so what we're singing is Chester was originally a hymn written by New England composer William Billings, and then martial words were added to it during the war, speaking of people's faith that God would deliver them from the tyranny imposed upon them by the British. In honor of our founders and past commanders who have gone on before us and passed away, we're going to do a song of mourning. believe we're now about ready to go into the parade. I say this every event, and I really do mean it. I mean, we love doing this, and we would do it whether you came or not. But it means so much to us that you're here. It makes it so much more meaningful. We are a 501c3 educational organization, nonprofit, registered with both the U.S. government and the state of Illinois. And since it is our goal to educate as well as to entertain, we really appreciate the support that you've given by coming out to see us this afternoon. The parade is being led out by the honor company that escorted the colors. That's Alexander Hamilton's New York State Artillery. They are the liaison unit between Cantigny here and our organization. So I want to thank them for all the work they've done. And also the staff here at Cantigny who are not represented, but Megan Asher and her staff of activity people and all the other support people. Hamilton's is followed in green by the 4th Continental Light Dragoons. They are light cavalry, although they are dismounted at the moment. They're followed by the 4th Massachusetts Regiment. 4th Massachusetts, the Continental Army Regiment, obviously from Massachusetts. They are also the Fife and Drum Corps that was performing back in camp earlier, most of them. In gray coats, the 3rd New York, another Continental Army unit. In the blue coats, the first set of blue coats are the 2nd Pennsylvania, Anthony Wayne's Light Infantry Company. They're followed by the 2nd Virginia Regiment. They're followed by the Illinois Regiment, Virginia State Forces, and then in the light blue coats, Lausanne's Legion, some of the French allies that were sent over after the alliance between the United States and Great Britain partway through the war. Then the Crown Forces line led by the Brigade of Guards, the ones that do the changing of the guard on Buckingham Palace today. The 55th Regiment of Foot, and the Scots contingent, the 71st Regiment of Foot, their bagpiper. There's a German soldier in there from Brunswick, the Brunswick Regiment, Prince Friedrich, and then at the end, the combined loyalists who are members of Butler's Rangers and Simcoe's Queen's Rangers. Again, those Americans who did not think we should be fighting for independence from Great Britain. So ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to thank you for coming out to see us this afternoon and present a salute to you, our audience. Thank you. As I say, we really do appreciate your attendance and support of our weekend here in Cantigny. We will be dismissing the formation shortly. And we are in hopes that we will be here again next year and see you all again here next year. The colors are taken back to camp to a place of safety. The escort company will fall in behind them. I understand that in Great Britain today, it's still considered proper etiquette for the colors to always go somewhere escorted. You never send your colors unescorted, since they are the most important things owned by your regiment and symbolize the honor and tradition and sacrifice of the men who have served under them. once the formation is dismissed, that's the end of our day of official reenacting living history. We have some people who have quite a distance to go home, even to places like Kentucky or Minneapolis. So some of them may be in a hurry to leave and get out of here. Some of us live closer. And if you have additional questions, can stay and talk to you. But we want you to be aware that we will be bringing vehicles into the military camp, the area on the south end of the property here. So we have never in 50 years hit a spectator, and we certainly don't intend to start that now. But if you come back towards our military camp, please do be aware that we will be bringing vehicles into that area in order to get our people packed up and home to become their 21st century selves when they have to go to work tomorrow. So again, thanks for coming to see us, and hope you enjoyed your day here at Cantigny Park.